Well, we're back with Carted Off. And speaking of carted off out of the season, the Indianapolis Colts going to Jacksonville, as Pete said last episode, hadn't won there in 6 years. Trevor Lawrence looking like a superstar drafted number 1 overall. Though Jacksonville will have the number 1 pick, the Colts are no longer a playoff team.
Definitely their best game for Jacksonville. What a good way to end off the season. Defensively, they were all over Wentz. We all got to see the side of Wentz that, he truly is. Reason why Philly let him go. They traded, got such good draft capital. They got a first and a third rounder for him. Good God. At least he's not tied into a contract in Indianapolis. And it stinks for them because they are essentially a middle-tier quarterback away from being a very interesting football team. If they didn't have Wentz and they had a guy like Garoppolo or Mariota.
Andrew Luck.
Andrew Luck.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my. Imagine him with Taylor in that backfield. James, though.
Man. That's a Super
Bowl.
James,
as a Giants fan, you have seen Wentz in Philadelphia. He didn't even win the Super Bowl. It was Nick Foles. Go ahead and tell us your thoughts on Carson Wentz and his future in the National Football League.
Carson Wentz had one really good year, and it was because everyone around him had a career year. The year the Eagles won the Super Bowl, Carson Wentz when he was healthy, had a very good year. And I give the credit to the team around him. For the longest time, I thought that Wentz and Prescott were similar, but Wentz was a little better. I mean, I think it's the other way around, that it's Prescott that's a little better because he makes a few less mistakes than Wentz. But I wouldn't want either one of them as a long-term quarterback. I just think both are very hot and cold, and both seem to melt in the big moment, at least as far as what I've seen so far.
We'll find out with Prescott this week. But, Pete, you know what that did? It opened the door for the Pittsburgh Steelers. We talked about them before. The Pittsburgh Steelers are now in the playoffs. Big Ben Roethlisberger, wins his final game in Pittsburgh, what will be his final game in Pittsburgh. They're coming to Kansas City Sunday Night Football. It's probably going to be 20 degrees here. Kansas City destroyed them earlier this year. Does Big Ben have magic left at Arrowhead Stadium to lead the Steelers to a victory like he did 1 year before they drafted Patrick Mahomes and fell to the Patriots in the championship game?
Absolutely not. And I'm going to tell you exactly how I see this game playing out. The Chiefs are going to come out scoring. Pittsburgh's going to do nothing, probably the whole first half. That if they might get 7 points the first half. And I could see the Chiefs coming out, putting up 30-plus points in this game, and somehow Pittsburgh will come back in the end of the game, and they won't, and the Chiefs won't cover the spread. They'll win by 7 points.
Andy Reid football.
That's how the Pittsburgh's entire season has been. It's always been, oh man, we've played terrible all game, and then now we're gonna come back and try to do something. And it's too late already. But they're gonna be so far away from the Chiefs. And the Chiefs are gonna be the type of team that you can't stop when you need to stop them. They're gonna be able to score that extra point, that extra touchdown that's gonna, really drive that nail in so that the game is over. But the Chiefs are 13-point favorites. I don't see it.
13 and a half. But with all seriousness, though, the only fear I have is that you look at them against Denver last week. If not for a fumble recovery of 86 yards by a rookie linebacker out of Mizzou down the road in Columbia, Missouri, sacked a quarterback out of Mizzou as well. A little fun fact there with Drew Lock, who is a Kansas City boy, and returned the fumble. The offense didn't win that game, Pete. That was the defense. James, do they stand a chance, or are they going down like in usual Chiefs playoff history minus the Mahomes era?
Well, I think the Chiefs are going to win. I think that Pittsburgh's the worst team in the playoffs. I could see it getting close because this year has been strange for the Chiefs. Their offense has disappeared a number of times inexplicably. Like they just didn't put up the points you'd expect on defenses you'd expect them to put the points on. Most of that was in the beginning of the year. But like you said, this past week, I tuned in a little. I didn't watch the whole thing, mind you, but it seemed like they were playing a close enough game to be, biting your nails a little bit if it really mattered against the Broncos. Yes. But I actually do see the Chiefs covering almost exactly, winning by 14 points, because this Pittsburgh team doesn't even belong in the playoffs.
I hear you. Well, two teams that do belong in the playoffs, and the division champion was the Buffalo Bills with a victory 27-10 over the New York Jets. Also, the New England Patriots losing again in Miami. What is it with them losing late season in Miami, even when they had Brady? But that sets up a playoff matchup in Buffalo, where we will see the Buffalo Bills take on the New England Patriots for the first time in the playoffs since it was the American Football League in 1963, and that ended with Babe Parilli leading the Boston Patriots to a 26-8 win over Buffalo before falling 51-10 to those San Diego Chargers in the AFL Championship game. Little more fun fact before we get into it. That was the only time the Patriots, Boston, or New England during their American Football League run ever made the playoffs. So what are we going to see here? A victory for the Bills like in 1963, or are we coming back with the Patriots? Moving on.
Well, I predict the Bills are going to win. I don't want to give too much of what we have to say with the playoff preview we have coming up for anybody watching, but
sure.
I think the Bills are sneaky dangerous, and they've been like a favorite out of the AFC the past couple of years. I feel like this year they're kind of, people forgot about them a little. They're kind of under the radar a little bit, and I just think they could put it all together and be a dangerous playoff team. So I do see them beating Mac Jones and the Patriots.
All right, Pete. You saw that? They're back in.
The Bills, they don't play 4 quarters of football, though. I don't know if you watch their games. They play really good for 2 or 3 quarters, but there's always a quarter they take off. And I noticed that about watching a lot of their games. And I would love to see the Bills win, because obviously I'm looking at the bracket, and I'm trying to avoid the Chiefs as much as possible, because I don't think the Raiders can beat the Chiefs this year. I think
rock and paper right there.
Oh my God. The Chiefs, it's just they see blood when they play the Raiders, and I'm just trying to avoid them.
No, and the Raiders are not getting a home playoff game either. That's another thing about it too. All right, so more or less, Tom Brady, he's back in again. He'll be playing the Philadelphia Eagles. Another victory for him. Philadelphia, Tom Brady, he's back. Tom Brady's going back to the Super Bowl. We're going to talk about this more in the preview show. We're just doing quick picks here. Is he going back to the Super Bowl?
Not this year. That's my prediction.
Not this year.
No, I don't think he's making it back to the Super Bowl. I do not.
Yeah.